What's going on, everybody? I want to talk generally about some personal finance stuff. The whole concept, it's really why I made this YouTube channel in the first place, and I'll explain it a little bit later. But there's a big part of that reason of the personal finance as the driver behind it is also why I wanted to dip into political stuff in the same channel, just because personal finance is, in my mind, and I think in reality, just at base level, not that hard. It's a very simple concept. The principles are very simple. There's wide-ranging variation, and there's intricacies that you can go into after you get past the basics. But on the surface, there's like I don't know, 3, 4, maybe like 4 or 5 components really to achieving financial success. And I was thinking to myself last night, and every time I talk to anybody about financial stuff, I always try to lead a conversation into financial stuff just because I find it interesting. And if somebody like opens the door to it, I'm definitely going to talk about it because it's just interesting, and to hear somebody else's experience, how their financial, like how their outlook is on financial things in general is interesting. And then you always hear somebody say something crazy. Today's example is I was talking to a guy at work that I work with, and he was like, just talking generally, he was like, yeah, me and my wife only have the house and the car as debt. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. And he was like, yeah, and I don't even really count the house. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Kind of everybody has a mortgage. And he's like, or the car, really. I don't really count the car as. And he's like, because you always have a car payment. And I was just like, I was like, well, unless you buy your car in cash. And he's like, well, yeah, but you kind of always have to buy a new car eventually. And I was like, all right, well, there's a nice example of why we're doing this whole thing, why I'm making this YouTube channel in general, because there's a thought process in a lot of people's heads that is just wrong. I think in general, like, of course you can always have a new car, you can always have new stuff, and you can always spend more money than you need to. There's no extent to which you can spend your money, really. But overall, like I said, he's not doing too bad. Obviously, if all the debt he has is his mortgage and his car, and if they're doing well enough, I didn't dive into and fucking tell him to break down his budget or anything, but overall, debt-wise, that's not bad. No credit cards, no anything like that. That's good stuff. But you definitely don't have to have a new car. You can buy a car in cash, a car that works. I mean, and then you just got to save up the money to get the car. But overall, like I said, there's only a couple concepts to this: is work hard, make as much money as you can, save as much money as you can, keep as much of the money you make as you possibly can. Don't get into debt where avoidable. Like I said, you're not going to really be able to buy a house in cash. Probably it's going to be very hard. You're gonna get a mortgage. That's completely normal. That's fine. Be smart about it. Don't buy more house than you can. But overall, that's 3. And then what else, really? I mean, you can say maybe budget is 1. So it's really just make as much money as you can, save as much money as you can. Oh, I guess invest would probably be the bigger 4th one. Stay out of debt everywhere you possibly can, especially bad debt, credit card debt, stuff like that, and invest as much as you reasonably can. It's really not that hard. And like I said, that's part of the reason I made this YouTube channel was personal finance. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, what am I going to talk about and all these things? Personal finance isn't that hard. It's really pretty simple. I mean, you can have a 20-minute conversation with somebody, and you could give them the blueprint to how to succeed financially in your everyday life. Pretty simply. And I think that's why some of these YouTube shows and stuff do so good, like Caleb Hammer, the finance YouTubers. Every once in a while do this, but I think his did really well because it's like these are everyday people, and I would love to be able to do something like this. I mean, that seems so fun to help people if you can actually help them. I know they lean pretty heavily into the entertainment aspect of it. I mean, these people are fucking out of their minds sometimes with how they spend their money, but to help everyday people and help them achieve success, it's just not that hard. And like, I know you're supposed to say not financial advice or whatever. I mean, yeah, but I don't know if you're sitting down and talking one-on-one like we're just friends. Like if I had a friend come ask me, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do and why it makes sense in my mind. Like, nobody's right all the time, but most of this stuff is just simple math. It's just not that complex. Like I said, people can spend their whole career, if you want to deep dive on exactly how to optimize your investing and optimize your tax stuff, and there's all kinds of financial topics that you could spend the rest of your life talking about it, thinking about it, diving into it. But the core principles are not hard to understand, and they're not hard to learn either. I don't know why so many people fail at this, which really is rhetorical, because I do know why. The hard part is executing on the principles. The principle is not hard to understand, and it's not complex. Making it actually happen in your real life, and not spending money when you don't need to, and investing and saving and working extra hard to make a little bit of extra money when you're younger. That's the hard part. I get that. Like, I'm assuming. Don't even leave it in the comments. I get it. I'm not that stupid. I'm pretty stupid sometimes, but not that stupid. Execution is the hard part. Understanding is not. This day and age, I've learned anything I know financially from the internet for the most part. Of course, I'm sure some people have taught me things here and there, but it wasn't like my mom and dad or my grandparents sat me down and were like, here's how to succeed financially. Nobody told me that shit. My friends didn't tell me that. Internet. It's available. Anybody can get access to it. If you're watching this video right now, you have access to it. Go get the information. It's out there. And then, like I said, the execution is hard, but if you do it, the stress of money problems and financial burden and things like that can at least be lightened, if not, by the time you're older, pretty much be taken completely away. And that's really what I want to do, because, I don't know, I've mentioned it before in other videos and stuff. I don't want to make it sound like I grew up dirt poor, because that's just not what it was. But, like, I mean, I don't know what lower middle class is, but we were somewhere around there. I don't know when food stamps kicks in, but we were right about there. So I don't know where that is, but I don't want my kids to grow up at that level. And I'll teach them everything I know. But in the meantime, I have to put in the effort to not be at that level. Which, to not be at that level, in my mind, isn't really that hard, depending on your situation. I mean, if you're already in a bad financial situation, that's when we're talking about it getting tough. That's the hard part. If you start at zero, as like a high schooler, if you're a young kid watching this, you're a high schooler in college, maybe even got a little college debt, you're not in that bad of a spot to get ahead. You're pretty much at baseline, and then you can move up. When you get below baseline and you're in a debt hole, that's when the problems start arising. But you can still make it out. Honestly, I mean, shows like Dave Ramsey, like I said, the Caleb Hammer stuff, there is a path forward. Literally 99% of the time you can get out of it, and you can still succeed. Especially the younger people. There's really so much opportunity ahead of anybody who's like, I don't know, sub 40. Like, you can still do so much in that time. Sub 45 years old, you can still get so far ahead. Even if you're behind right now, you can still fix it. And like I said, I wanted to get into the political stuff too, because one, there's a crossover. Obviously, they influence each other. Money and politics are obviously hand in hand. There is no separating these things in the United States. They obviously have impacts on each other, but also because I knew I wasn't going to have enough financial stuff to talk about all the time, because I've watched these finance YouTubers for a long, long time, and I mean, there's certain ones, like the Money Guys. I really like their shit. They have a real simple, like a financial success process and steps they have. It's called the FOO. If you want to go look it up. It's the one basically I'm trying to follow. It makes perfect sense. I think it's better than Dave Ramsey's like baby steps shit. And I don't need to make one of those, because like I said, there's people that have already made it. It's out there. You can go grab the piece of paper and just you gotta do it. But there's not that much financial things that I need to talk about or want to talk about without getting like into the real nitty gritty with people, because it's just not that hard. But to broaden the concept to as many people as possible is the part that I kind of wanted to do, and like spread this information to as many people as possible, and especially to the younger people, because like I said, if you're younger, your return on your investments, your opportunity ahead of you to keep yourself out of a bad situation, all those things, it's time to basically, you got to let these people know, so they have that information and they're ready to basically execute after that. That's the fun part. I think that would be fun to help people in that way of like, hey, just in case you didn't know, here's the path. It's not that hard on paper. Yeah, you got to go put some work in, but anybody can do it. It's really not that hard overall. Like I said, don't come at me about saying it's not that hard. I get what I'm saying. There's two different things. Make it happen. Concept, not that hard. But the political stuff, hey, that's just fun on the side that I wanted to talk about. But the personal finance, I mean, that's really what I like more. I'm still pretty early, I would say, in my life relative to everything else. I mean, I'm 26, about to be 27. I've never bought a house. Like I said, I grew up from relatively humble beginnings in United States terms, I would say. My mom doesn't have, like my family didn't have credit cards, big houses, investment properties. I don't even know if my mom has a 401k, man. Like, this was not things that were taught to me by anybody around me. I had to go seek this information out. And if you're watching this video, I hope you're doing the same thing. I hope you're getting ahead of the curve and learn this stuff before it really applies, so you just know how to handle it, and then teach it to people around you too. And I've never asked, I guess, but it makes sense to be like, hey, if you find something in this video that helps you, I want to make a more in-detail process video about this. Basically, the financial steps to take to succeed. I would like to do that and break it down, just a quick video, because everybody can learn a little something from it. But like I said, you learn it and then share it to as many people as you can. And if you got some out of the video, obviously that'd be great. Share it to somebody, send it to somebody, have them check out the channel, because that's a big part of what I'm going to talk about, because obviously people don't know it. No matter how simple the process is, there's obviously people getting left behind. Some crazy like 50% of people in the United States don't have $1,000 to cover an emergency. That should not be the case. Overall, I know things are expensive these days, but we still make a lot of money in the United States compared to everywhere else, and you should have a little bit saved up and be getting ahead, not falling more and more behind. Credit card debt, car loans, mortgages you can't afford, things like that. And I'm glad I found the pitfalls before I was able to actually fall in one, and I'll do my best to teach my family and people around me. I got younger siblings that I wouldn't want anything but success for, so I'll tell them everything I know and try to educate them as best I can. If somebody comes to me, I'll obviously tell them, but like I said, if somebody opens the door to financial conversation, I'm all in. I'm going to tell you everything I think, and if I'm wrong, I mean, you can try to explain it to me or not, but educate me a little bit. I'm always willing to learn more. But like I said, for the most part, it's basic math. I want people around me to succeed. I want to succeed. You, whoever you are watching this video, if I don't know you in person, shout out to the dogs that watch the video that I know in person. But if I don't know you, I want you to succeed, because why not? I want the best for anybody who can have it. And if you're willing to put the work in, it's pretty much guaranteed you can have it. You just got to have the tools, and the tools are out there. And like I said, if you got something out of the video, like it, subscribe, come back. We're going to be talking more about it. Like I said, you'll get political content sprinkled in there. If you don't like that, then hey, sorry. It is what it is, though. It's the concepts are too intertwined for me to separate them, and I like talking about both, so it is what it is. If you dislike the video, dislike it. Tell me why in the comments. And otherwise, I'll catch you guys tomorrow.